Good morning. This is Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, spring edition 2025. It rained yesterday. It rained a lot. It's still quite wet, but it doesn't look like it's raining today. So that's yay. Yay for outdoor recess. All right. Well, today it is Tips Tuesday, and I'm trying to run through my brain of which tip to share with you today. Now, I don't know if this is it because, you know, it's impromptu. It's as things are being thought about while I'm talking here. So, I'm putting on my shoes this morning. Oh, my hair's a mess. I combed it, but I didn't, do anything with it, which is normal. But I was putting on my shoes this morning. I had to look for them. I couldn't find them. It was a specific pair of shoes that I was wanting to wear. And when I found them, I went to put them on, and I noticed there was no traction left on the bottom of them. Not something you would go for a walk with, right? So, as I'm putting them on, I'm noticing that the rest of the shoe is in pristine condition. The fabric, the sole, the inserts, the shoelaces, even the ingots on the end of the shoelaces, the little plastic parts, they're all in pristine order. But there's no traction. It made me think of the shoes the Romans wore, the sandals, when they had nails on the bottom of their spikes on the bottom, like cleats, like a football shoe. They had cleats on the bottom of their their sandals. And so, when they were moving forward, they would plant those into the ground so that they wouldn't lose ground. They would be it was traction for them. It was so that they weren't going to get pushed back. They were going to forge forward. Yes, I get my whole body into this, even though you only see my head, my floating head, versus the whole body experience, which you would get if I was on stage. All right, so I'm picturing this, right? That how many times we lose traction in doing things. We move a little bit, we get pushed back. It's like the longest yard. Boy, I'm doing a lot of football analogies there. Skip that. You're so close to the finish line, and then something happens and you just get we used to do this with the budget all the time. We would be like debt free in 83, debt free in whatever the date was, right? And we would get so close, and then something would happen and we would be right back where we started from. We had no traction. When trying to finish a project, we would get so far, and then all of a sudden, it's like this house project. We're doing repairs on the house, and we got so far, and then all of a sudden, boom, stopped in our tracks and pushed back. Had certain plans of what I was going to do with those funds. Part of it was to fix up the house. Part of it was to buy a rental property. Pushed back. Didn't happen. When your shoes have no traction, you can slip and fall. You can slip and fall. And when you fall, you could hurt yourself. Pretty good. It's important to have traction on the bottoms of your shoes. There's this saying about taking care of your feet. You take care of your feet, it helps the rest of your body. My daughter's had a lot of feet issues. She's had foot issues since the day she was born. My grandson's having some foot issues. And sometimes you have to buy the more expensive shoe to take care of your feet. So I was talking about counting the cost yesterday. I believe it was yesterday, about counting the cost. Sometimes you need to put out a little bit more, just a little bit more, sometimes a lot more, to make sure that you're set, that you have good traction, that you have comfortable shoes. I was at a fundraiser this weekend, and some teenagers were dressed to the hilt because it was an afternoon tea. It was great. They looked like models. They were beautiful. But you could tell they were having trouble shuffling along in their, like, 3 or 4 inch heels. Some of them walked gracefully in it, but yeah, some of them did not walk so gracefully in their shoes because they were being very careful about how they walked so they wouldn't hurt themselves. There was a time when I could wear heels. I can't wear heels anymore. It hurts. Ever since I got the screws in my ankle, it's been, my feet have changed. My body has changed. In the last 5-10 years, my body has changed immensely as far as my legs and my ankles and my feet, my toes and all of that. So I have to make sure that I wear shoes that don't hurt, that have good stability, that I won't twist my ankle or slip on the rocks. I took a walk yesterday. It wasn't in these shoes. It was another old pair of shoes that I use for walking. And I was going down the hill and my foot hit the loose gravel and it's slid right out from under me. I didn't fall, but I felt the hyperextension in my knee trying to catch myself. So I think maybe I did fall. But it was a purpose fall. It was like, I'm going to fall this way because I'm not letting it fall any way it wants me to. It was a guided fall. Didn't realize I was going to talk about shoes. You know, I think of the armor of God. I was when we were talking about shoes, our feet are shod with the preparation of peace. Wow, thank you, Lord, for that one. Our peace needs traction. Because without traction, we will lose our peace. I was talking about a narcissist last week, and then I ended up not talking about it because it merged into another conversation. Because narcissists, they want everything their way. It's all about them, and then other people will try to emanate that, and they'll get in trouble, and then it's like they say, "Oh, so and so did it." Just because so-and-so did it didn't make it right. So that's where that went. But when I was talking about narcissists, I was like, if you don't believe that there's a lot of narcissists out there, go driving for a while. They'll cut you off. They'll take your turn in what, who goes first. They will speed through traffic with no regard to human life, you know, etc., etc. Well, if you want to know whether you have peace, go driving for a while. I would say especially in New Jersey, but let me tell you, Washington, D.C. is probably the worst I've seen. Germany is probably the best I've seen. Thinking about it. But I also was not driving in like places like Frankfurt. They were more more rural towns, more smaller towns. But for the most part, yeah, I would say Germany was the best driving experience, and Washington, D.C. is the worst driving experience that I have had. My husband, on the other hand, who has driven over in Korea and places like that, he's like, no, there's some bad experiences there. My daughter just got back from the Dominican Republic, and she said the driving there was like no rules. I'm sure they have them. Maybe people just don't know them. I don't know. But you go driving for a while and you'll find out how much peace actually settles in you. I call myself Miss Daisy. I would rather be driven, although Miss Daisy did not rather be driven in the movie. She wanted to drive herself. She had no choice but to have somebody drive for her. But I always joke around saying I'm Miss Daisy because I have a chauffeur. I want a chauffeur. Especially in places that I don't know. Because, oh, and there it starts, the group texting. Hold on. Forgot to turn it off. And then you guys have to hear it. Sorry about that. So, I'm sitting there thinking about my shoes having no traction. In reality, my actual shoes. And how it reminded, because I started out with, what are we going to get dressed in? What am I going to wear today, right? But I said, what are we going to get dressed in? And I picked up my Holy Spirit already knows what I'm getting dressed in. The armor of God. You know, when you put on the armor of God, it doesn't say to take it off. So I guess you sleep in it. Have you ever seen pictures of like Marines that are out in battle and stuff, and they're wearing their uniform and they're sleeping in their uniform? It's not uncommon for a warrior to sleep in their uniform. But for today, we're talking about our shoes. We're talking about no traction on our shoes. And if the Roman soldiers did not have those nails, those cleats in their sandals to stand fast where they were, that stand fast, that's part of that verse. Stand fast. So they wouldn't lose traction. They wouldn't lose ground. When you're fighting the enemy, they want the ground. There's a common phrase in like the deliverance movement that talks about, do they have ground? Do they have legal right to that space? And when you're talking boundaries for countries, you know, that ground, their legal right is that boundary. And when they go to war, you know, like back in the day, they wanted to expand. They wanted to have more ground. They wanted to expand their borders. But if they couldn't hold the ground, it was quite possible they were going to lose ground. So how do you stand firm? Make sure you have traction. Make sure you have traction on your feet. Make sure you have those cleats that can dig into that ground. Again, body movements. All you see is floating head. You stand ground in that you stick your feet into that soil, into those rocks, and just dig in and stay firm, leaning forward. Because you're not going back. How do you see football players when they progress forward? I mean, you know, they have the throwing the ball and stuff. But those that are defending, that front line of defense, they are buckled down. They don't get up, because if you get up like this and you stand all proud and haunchy, you can get knocked down easily. That's when you sack the quarterback. They got to be upright, right, to throw that ball. And so what happens is they stand up to throw that ball. That leaves them vulnerable, and it's up to those people that are on the defensive line of offense. I don't know the term. I hear my grandson used to play football. To protect the quarterback, and they don't protect him. He's going down. They hunker down. They push. The whole defensive line pushes, and they try to find a spot that's vulnerable. And when they see somebody who's vulnerable, guess what? You know, a guy who's trying to catch the ball becomes vulnerable because he's upright. We dig into that ground, and we stand firm. Trees that are rooted real well go deep. Trees that are not rooted well, like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tree down there. Whole thing came up, roots and all. We had a pine tree, really big one. Came down, roots and all. Happens a lot around here. But there are trees that grow deep, and they stand firm in the storms. And it's the storms that make the tree itself strong. The roots will hold it there if the tree is strong enough. So I got a broken tree there. Cracked. Laying sideways up against another tree. It's a small one. But it's through those storms that strengthen the tree. And it's their root being dug in that keeps them in place. So without traction, you can't dig in. You can't hold your ground. You can't forge forward when you have the opposition pressing against you. Count the cost and maybe get a really good pair of shoes. Good traction. Something that helps you to propel forward and not slide back or fall down. And that's my Tips Tuesday. All right, blessings, everybody. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow for Wonderful Wednesday. Did it again. Forgot. Supposed to do it in the beginning, the middle, and the end. Go over to my YouTube channel. I'm not there yet today. I have 3 minutes to give this message on YouTube until I get 50 subscribers. So go over to my YouTube page, Mona E. Harrison. Like, subscribe. That's the important part for now. Watch the videos. Do it on double speed when you're watching the lengthy ones. And Comment. Comment here. Like here. You know, share. You're welcome to share any content that you sit there and go, you know what? I think this is a valuable thing for my friend to hear. Or my friends. So, subscribe, like, share. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day.